this is kind of a fun one, and I'll facilitate this discussion, but it's really intended to be kind of an exploration. We'll do this together. And, you know, you think about how do you present somebody like Haertling, right? I think most of us in here are familiar with his work. The book that he put together to present himself is pretty interesting. And I have a whole stack of these. So if anybody actually would like these, my stack is running low. But have a look at this. This is his original brochure. I got these off his son. He was handing them out like candy to bartenders. Right? So I took the whole stack. Anyways, the work's really neat. And some of these boards here are from an exhibition that I helped curate several years back. And it was essentially based on this film that we're going to watch and his work sample. Now, Haertling, you know, we get this idea of, you know, straight-laced modernist. This is not Haertling at all. This is a really pretty romantic individual. I wish I could have met him. I didn't get the chance. But these are panels. This is how he showed himself to the world. It's interesting the people that he quotes in this book, Bruce Goff, the unusual definition of organic art. The usual definition of organic architecture is that which grows from the outward with the natural use of materials. So the form is one function. However, we must go further and continue with, as directed and ordered by creative spirit. Okay? All these wonderful houses that he did in Boulder. A Frank Lloyd Wright quote, right? A house is more a home by being a work of art. You can see the work. It's incredible, right? This is somebody that's, you could argue, is ahead of their time or maybe not bound by the limits of it. Really, really neat, expressive things. Anyways, as you can imagine, with projects like this, this is somebody that's on site probably every day. The buildings are almost more sculpture than they are buildings, right? So how do you control, how do you draw that? The drawings that the guy did about blow your mind. Picture some of these compound curves in buildings like this. How do you start to detail how the glass comes together, right? This is concrete with rebar, precad. Yeah, this is a difficult building to put together now. So lots of on-site time. Now with that came a lot of movies. And this film is actually a result of those movies. His son, Joel Haertling, who couldn't join us this evening, put together this film in 1990. It's a 66-minute silent film. So I think the way I see this working is we'll actually be able to talk over the top of this, discuss projects as they come. What he writes about this film's called The Design Process of Charles A. Haertling, Architect. This is a silent 16mm film centered on Charles Haertling's restored 8mm construction motion pictures. Joel Haertling has edited these and spliced additional footage of the architect's concept sketches, models, line drawings, and completed structures. Anyone interested in Haertling's organic architecture will be visually guided through the successive stages of conception, design, and construction. Innovations as filmmaker and viewer piece together episodes of the creative process. This movie will not spoon feed us. It can be a difficult thing for maybe some folks to watch, but this film is intended to be more about the mental construct of Charles Haertling's application of design theory to the practical task of building. We're going to cover essentially the buildings that we'll see on our field trip as well. St. Stephen's Lutheran Church, 1963. That's in Northglenn. And it has an experimental catenary shaped beam construction. Warburton House, 1964. That's in Goldfield. I understand that's pretty heavily altered. Our Savior's Lutheran Church, 1962. That's what we're going to think here in Denver. That's designed based on a series of roofs, isosceles triangles. I kid you not, it's a series of towers with stairs that go forward at a 30-degree angle. Try walking down that from the front house.
You probably didn't when you did it.
No, it does, and they're beautiful. The way there's some crazy organic kind of thing.
Okay.
The Brenton House, 1971, that's a Boulder house. It's like mushroom. Inspired by the form of barnacles. Structure is made of polyurethane foam sprayed on a rebar skeleton. And then probably one of his most famous works, I think, the Menkick House, 1971, also in Boulder. So with that, we'll let Haertling himself walk us through these projects via his son Joel. So I'll share our screen. Yes, sir. So the original intention is that this was a series of buildings. One ever got built. Those are the elevations. Those are the actual construction documents. See the little detail markers? So this is footage that Haertling himself would have created on site. And I think that, Joel, in working with him, Joel felt that, the sculptural qualities of the buildings, they were designed on paper, right? They were designed in model. But this was also part of the design. He was out there, giving direction here.
I feel like you have to give anyone other than him the plans and just look at them and go, what?
Sure. I mean, God, can you imagine? I don't know. Have you ever walked the inside of this?
I was in charge of the other tour. We done more of somebody.
Cast on site. Plan right there. Stand them up.
Story behind it.
We don't know whether he used a special mix of concrete.
No, but did you see how thick the concrete was that the guy was standing on it, working into his boot? Well, Haertling had a good relationship with the Lutheran church. And he wasn't Lutheran. It might be.
I mean, I don't know why else.
It probably is.
Especially hanging around concrete that can burn you.
We've got somebody of really tremendous talent that chose to keep his practice small. Those guys dressed like you. I know. They're all dressed up. Oh, great.
Except for the one who had no shirt on.
It was just normal
That
dress.
was- What's funny is in this film, as we look at some of these later projects, you'll see a difference.
In the
Yeah, I don't think Northglenn had really developed yet. It's in the city.
by like Deza being in for this church is also significant rather than itself, just floating on an island would have been nothing at that time.
Imagine what neighbors would think.
What year was
64. 63, yes.
Was it like a neighborhood Island, or was it, well, you said there's no neighborhood, so was it just like
There's a community pool.
no community? Come up here, you want to build a neighborhood around the school.
I had to look it up to confirm my dates, but actually, the neighborhood of Northglenn that eventually became the city of Northglenn was started in 1961.
Well, even look at the background, right? There's nothing there at all.
Well, in some of those early shots, there were some houses in the background.
Yeah,
There's like one right
there's some
there.
houses.
Two.
And of course, this is a perfect pour for that. Yeah.
Showing you the third. Don't want to screw up that and then have to record.
Well, even just the fact, I mean, you know, I mean, sure, we're looking at pretty grainy footage here, but those corners look pretty darn good to me.
Yeah.
You know, the level of craft and workmanship that's going on here.
How much does that have to be?
Well, in 1963.
Same year as this?
That was even before the-
So watch them dropping these things into place, right? So this thing's going to lean against itself in the middle.
Who's tensioning this? The door.
Now,
Barely.
and to do it in an uncontrolled environment outside, middle of nowhere.
Design.
Exactly. Yep.
These construction workers were like, what are we, okay, sure,
You know,
sure,
and-
that's what you think.
And that's why he's making this film, right? I mean, this is part of his, he's recording this thing and that's the rear.
Never see any of those guys without a hard hat on with that thing swinging around
Oh
now
my
either.
God, no. No way.
That's the directors of that church. Take it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the clients.
So I pulled up the National Register nomination just to see what other background it would have. So Haertling, started his career in the Secretary's office, then joined to show, and then started his own firm in 1959. Apparently sent out unsolicited letters. But he also was witness. where he talked about his kind of practice and his spiritual practice and how that guided his friends. So it's a little unclear, how he came to St. Stephen's attention, but it seems likely. At least those two.
Imagine dropping that on those two pieces of rebar. And not being scared that it's gonna break the whole end off. Or blow it out of the column that it's sitting in. That's insane.
I wonder how much he was sweating in at that moment.
Camera's a little shaky. I know that he was a Lutheran, so there may have been a connection there, I don't know.
I guess it's fitting for a church, but this whole project is illegal.
Yeah.
And what this shape was supposed to symbolize at all? Did he have a shape in mind?
I think it's supposed to be a lily.
The landmark designation?
And it's bizarre, I mean,
It looks like tusks right there.
and that's him on the right. I don't know who the guy on the left is.
That's what Jorgensen was, it was the first lecture.
Maybe, probably. Yeah, that's him there.
They're saying, now we're gonna go in and knock down that support in the middle.
Now we're gonna fill it with all concrete. Serious stuff.
It does look like tusks. Straight up, it just looks like
Yes.
mammoth tusks. Yes.
It's nice to see that rebar.
Those ones that were, those two that were just sticking up, I don't know, as big around as your arm, maybe. And then, of course, now they're creating the spider webs for each one of the roof panels. Which of course, all these little eyelets are sitting on top of that ridge back. Predetermine where they're going to go. And even just the amount of drape, right, between each one of the beams. Where do you stand?
7-inch cars.
You guys are just comfortable standing in that.
It's really not that tall though,
I guess that's true.
Uh-huh. It's a big trampoline until they put the concrete on top.
Yeah. Except for those metal nets, right? You're gonna fall, your face is gonna.
2 cables in each beam are stressed.
I have no idea what the measurement is.
So right now, They're putting attention on it right now.
Oh,
It's serious stuff. So it's just pull.
and even.
This is not the fourth time I've seen this. It's still spelled like.
Yeah, there's nothing beyond it over there.
Trout on,
Real.
no gunite.
Interesting. Interesting.
I don't know why it wouldn't have been gunite.
I don't either.
So gunite is sprayed.
Okay.
So they're going to put this stuff on by hand.
That's how the.
How many hours of labor?
Yes. Oh, it's really just structure, right? Because then they're gonna come in here after, and I think the whole wonder side of it is acoustic texture. You know, and he keeps experimenting with these kinds of buildings, right? By the '70s, in the last house that's in this film, we'll see him working with the, rather than concrete, it's foam. You gotta imagine these guys going home to the wife and saying, "Oh,
You got a cigarette, you got a pipe.
They didn't have pumps for concrete that time either. These guys were shoveling the concrete. Why are we getting sick of them?
Well, they've got expanded wire mesh.
They got a mesh.
Yeah. See the lap right there in it?
So they have this mesh.
When I went inside the deed bank, you could see one spot where you can see 82. Something like that. Did you see that part when you- How the structure was done.
There's the steeple. I don't know what that's made of. I assume it's just a
We're going to ask
lightweight
if we knew.
frame.
Must be a lightweight structure or something. Which it could be for cast concrete.
And, you know, like each one of those signs, right, is different. The angle coming up into that point is different.
It's just funny because no construction site would be closed down and everybody had no hard hats on doing that. Yeah, oh, I know, there was nothing, but I'm saying nowadays, it's just funny.
It's not very high. The whole building's pretty darn low.
It's a real low building. I mean, it's still a hurt if you fell off of it though. Or it might just be like a ski man. This was a dirt
Yeah,
side of the
it's
time.
neat. Be another world on top of that bridge. A weird little mountain. Yeah.
No, it is. Yeah.
World.
You almost wonder if he didn't get some influence though from some of the Polynesian architecture, because it almost looks like those ends almost feel like they should be made of wooden, like an outrigger.
It looks like a piece of cloth. You know, because it really
I mean,
is.
it's like a circus tent way. Most elegant.
You know, the glass is cut up into the bottom of it. So we found into it. And then top volume.
Definitely the spire of the church. Supposed to be fire. And then it was.
One of those early sketches, it looked like it had a standing seam roof on it. Or at least had lines indicating something like that.
Yes. Ron Slide. Ron Slide.
Likes the way it is turned out. Taking lots of pictures of those curves.
I would say 2018.
Yeah.
Recent.
Yeah, the
So,
18, 19, because I know that's like.
it was, yeah.
19.
Well, you can imagine, and ways moving the camera, right, and taking these shots. It's like a pencil stroke, right? And of course, the building's not quite like this anymore. I think it's like a salmon. So, but look how pure this thing looks. Just white. Brown moss. I don't know what that membrane or what it is on top of that concrete.
Yeah, they didn't have any sophisticated memories. How you wrote this.
Now, this house, I got the story from Joel. In fact, that seed right there still exists. It does. That he picked from the site that became the shape of the house. So it's a yucca seed. Cellular structure seed. Gold Hill. And I haven't seen it, so I don't know what it looks like now, but from what I understand, it's been really messed up. Well, I think they added a building onto it. That just, you know. Structure. You know, this is what year over year. Did with his original 8mm. Probably 60. And look at that thing. I mean, what rebar and wire mesh. Now, most of these models and much of the process material lives at his son Joel Haertling's home. Not all of them. A lot of them have been donated to the Boulder Library, but the bigger stuff at the library was, and of course, his son works at the Boulder Library. So this project, this is the church that we'll meet at on the field trip. You can see the floor plan, right? All these things are these angles, including the stairs that lead at these angles. And then, like I said, this building was intended to be much, much larger. It never got completed. The 1900 or whatever it is, church, the actual sanctuary itself, never got torn down. It built, this is essentially just the church school. The towers are actually, you know, they're intended to be crown thorns.
Okay.
And each one of the Sunday school rooms, when we walk in, we'll see what they're like, but that's each one of the Sunday school rooms.
Another Lutheran church.
Did you see the new pickup truck though? Like a 40s pickup that was hauling that.
Oh, yeah.
Must have had some-
So that is the steel frame for one of these tower roofs.
But so that was obviously prefabricated.
And this is in, you know, this is in Denver, so it's pretty tight. You can see the antique church there off to the left. It's really a darn shame that the building didn't get completed. It would have been pretty spectacular. And the majority of this church school is actually along an alley. So all of this architecture is an alley. The photos that he has in his work sample, his portfolio, are taken from the alley.
working on sort of trees too.
That's where that Northglenn site would have been a much easier site to navigate.
Yeah.
What's also interesting about it is because the gables of each one of these mountains is symmetric. Because the plan is twisted. A couple of years ago, I led a group of my guys out there to walk this building. It was a really neat experience. Walked church and letting us walk out. So we walked on these.
What was the roofing material on it? I got something very new now, probably.
Right.
TPO.
Now the neighbors, they had neighbors that could complete the project. And apparently the neighbors weren't thrilled about this particular building. And we'll see as it wraps up in the next few parts here. It's actually an additional sort of decorative canal that goes on the edges of all of these tower crowns. And they're actually thorns. The community ended up making them. So they're not there anymore. They just said it was so darned ugly.
This was ugly. I thought it was a, but they were gonna say it was like too violent to think of all the time.
I thought that they got removed when they roofed the building. That it got removed, you know, just to simplify re-roofing it. No, the church actually took them off. Now, this is also, and it's not shown in this film, this is a a form that he was experimenting with in 1958 in Boulder on a house. I can't recall what street it's on, but one of his first houses he did here, Colorado, has this roof on it. It's an addition to a 1920s house. There's the crown, there's the thorns.
You really thought those were that ugly that they needed to be removed? That seems very dramatic to me.
What the church told us.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how they could legally do that.
I don't know.
Wouldn't have had pigeons on the roof.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't it incredible?
That's terrible.
It makes sense then, right? The towers make sense.
Sure.
It does.
Shark teeth.
Like I said, you wouldn't have a pigeon problem.
And there's also something about they're all shaded, right? So, like look at these fins, right? They're all on these angles and stuff that follow the grid of the plan. It shields all, the light doesn't come in where it's not desired. It's pretty sophisticated, and it's just a small piece of the bigger project. Look at that thing. Look how it's all wonky and late,
What's the address?
It's like 9:15.
915 East 9th Avenue.
I know I've got this, but
The triangles up in the soffits are all lighting.
Do you know what those were made of? The doors?
I believe they were copper.
That's my guess. They look like they're from.
That's the underside.
Yes.
What year were the doors?
I don't remember what she told me. That's inside one of those towers. So we're looking out through the glazed.
the landmark designation and make them put it back on.
It's in rough shape. It's not in great shape. The old sanctuary is in better condition than the modern stuff now.
Yeah, it's one of the alley.
And, unlike, and I don't want to badmouth Deaton, but unlike Deaton's work, when you walk these projects, they're right. Everything is right. There's no sloppy, weird corners where stuff just didn't work out. It wasn't thought through.
Everything seems to.
Yes.
Yes.
I have, and I can actually go and grab it. I think the drawing's downstairs. What this project would have looked like complete. I'll definitely have it on our field trip. Sanctuary had been torn down and the apartment tower built.
For the apartment?
Yes. So it was intended to have basically a chapel on the ground level, an apartment tower, and a sanctuary on the top.
It was
So
Apartment
that's the
tower for
apartment
like-
tower, not the
Boulder.
sanctuary.
I don't remember. So this model also still exists. And that's the actual study model. The bottoms, the ground level kind of stuff, where all that surface stuff is in this project, in this house, is actually the down tubes. So we jumped ahead quite a bit here. We're in 1972. And the guys that they actually, the team here is not part of the contractor's crew that's forming these rooms with rebar. These are Italian sculptors that came over for this job. And he's working with sculptors to create the rooms. And if you walk the project now,
These guys are working without any protection.
Yeah, so they say no to protection.
Clothing.
No clothing. They're Italian, they don't need to wear clothes.
if you project now, you can tell this is much more handmade looking. It feels like the little barnacles that he's inspired by. It's wobbly, it's kind of wonky looking. It looks like it grew out of
Where is this?
Boulder.
It's so thought out.
so.
Local, our guys. I mean, do we know who the original, anything about the original owners? Maybe
They still live in
wanted-
it.
Okay, so they still have it. Did they
Or at least
say,
she was alive until recently.
did they say they wanted it to be like a sculptural piece? Maybe they said it wanted it to be more handmade.
It's, you know, everybody calls it the mushroom house up there. But yeah, it's a barnacle and it really looks like a barnacle. But look at this, there's nothing square, there's no map here. There's the foam growing. So after the rebar is put up, that's craft paper.
It's just craft, it's just paper.
See the paper blowing as they're trying to wire it down?
Yeah.
And then the foam is sprayed on the paper.
So does this even have an actual roof anywhere?
No. The whole thing is a single skin. So there's no transition between wall and roof or anything.
So what keeps the water out?
It must be some kind of painted on coating.
It would have to be. But at that time, the technology was not developed. They could have used a cocoon.
Yeah,
It's about the only thing that they could have used. It's sprayed on plastic materials.
imagine how much fun that was getting that thing wrapped in paper.
I'm just like, is it going? I'm like, what if it rained? You'd be like, "Shit."
Well, it's pure sculpture. I mean, look at this. There's no framing here.
It's like a giant pinata.
Yeah. Now, from what I understand, Len told me this. The only issues that the house has had has been woodpeckers.
Okay, the woodpeckers love foam, like any of the ephes or the
Yep.
stucco siding out here, every single house with it. Every
There's no-
inspection I've done on a stucco house out here has a woodpecker hole in somewhere.
So that's them spraying the foam there. And that's it.
Is it enough insulation for the house, or do they complain that it's?
I don't know. I would imagine it is. It's at least 6 inches thick. I think it's
Yeah.
thicker than that. Because it looks
Paper
very
was
thick.
it?
What's that, Alan?
You know what kind of paper it was?
I don't know. It's probably a builder paper, but it looks like it's awful thin.
It looks like it's white, that's why I'm asking. Not building paper.
Maybe it was something that sculpture artists used when they were making sculptures, and that's where you got his idea.
I don't know. It may even be like a cloth.
It looks like something I would have lost my patience with after about 5 minutes.
Yes.
Unless it, and it doesn't move like linen.
I don't know.
You know, the only thing it could have been is there's a fabric that was made to put into dresses and skirts and things and collars and things to provide
Some stiffness.
some stiffness, and it almost looks like that. And it was like a felt particle.
Imagine how, okay, first off, you get a client to buy off on this crazy thing, right? But just how it- revolutionary the whole thing is.
Maybe something on it looks like that.
Probably some sort of hardener for. I know.
Hmm.
Explain.
Joel probably didn't know.
Did you write specifications?
Yes, I believe so.
Maybe some description.
Film, why is there that gap between the sexes and stuff?
I don't know.
Maybe the film, he didn't film much stuff in between, or
Pretty available paper. See, it's paper.
that's why I'm almost thinking it's like the stuff that they put inside
Cheesecloth.
dresses. It starts with a P. That they would put inside dresses, shirt collars, anything that needed a form. It almost reminds me of that. No, it's a, someone was just talking about it the other day.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
That's
it's
my
no
mom's
fabric
stuff.
than paper.
The name's like really.
And that's kind of what it reminds me of. Like a plastic either, it doesn't
No.
move that way.
And what's,
Well,
well, there's like those little portholes,
Yes.
but
Yeah, you really can.
I wouldn't call it a mushroom at all.
the window, the glazing is it's all standard units. So if I'm remembering right, those ends of those barnacles are a different language entirely. And I think it's actually texture 111 plywood vertical with a standard sliding glass door. Unlike these other projects that have, you know, glazing that's running. And the elevations of this house, I have accessed the construction documents for this.
The house next door.
It was drawn that way. It was drawn with these sort of generic window openings. And the worst, I shouldn't say the worst one, but the most jarring one is actually the garage door in this house. So one of those barnacles is actually the garage. And the house is facing a little park or an open space still today. So you get the same kind of view that a lot of his marketing pictures.
Maybe, you mean balconies on the outside of the opening of the barnacle, and then behind it is flat.
Just a flat wall with a regular door in it. See, I didn't even remember there being glass. I thought it was only 11. But you can see it's sculpted, right? It's Fred Flintstone-y, the edges. It's not that perfect, this stuff we saw in his other work. Uh-huh.
Irregular texture.
Garage door.
I never noticed the garage was right there.
It's got the deep house.
This is in it too.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
also.
But it's, I think it's him and her just walking across the landscape in front of it.
Yeah, it's not like a long.
The house still looks like this today.
That one. Just too close to.
And the approach to the house is via some bridges, things like that, the actual front door.
It's on this.
So those barnacles really don't actually touch the ground. They're all floating with these little pods like that. At least the wife was. I think the whole gut of it is yellow. I don't know. Not that big. I think it takes up a lot of room, but I don't think the actual livable square footage is that large.
This would be like 22.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So many of them around that. If we knew the actual address, it'd be a student.
So now 71, and you notice that these projects are a different approach, right? So he doesn't have just sort of a vocabulary. Oh, missing a piece of thing. Maybe we're not going to see the gig house. Oh no, this is the rock of it. This is the site pre-house. Isn't it?
So the address, the Barnacle House is on Wonderland Hill Avenue. Do you think it was named before or after the crazy houses put on it?
Definitely after. So this house is built into a rock.
We were
Just
wrong.
south.
No, we were wrong. This is a 5,000 square foot house. Really?
Maybe it takes up 5,000 square foot.
If you include the patios, I don't know. That's what it says.
It's huge.
Like, you get a sensor.
It doesn't feel that big. experiencing the rock.
Place.
This site is Glen.
It's growing out of the rock. Look, there's a little gap between it and the rock.
Maybe there's some LSD makes it blunt.
So apparently this house is being restored right now. It was really, Northglenn, it really got messed up pretty bad on the interior. Old stone was pulled out of it, everything was drywalled over, but the exterior was never touched. So it's looked the same way, it still looks the same way right now. And really kind of a fallen water sort of thing, right? With rooms cantilevered off of this big rock.
Yeah, the concrete or, you know, it wasn't concrete stone, but the smooth finishes in this year. Definitely didn't have like a preferred material. Yeah.
He didn't have a preferred, he has a clear approach that's consistent through all the work, but the language changes. You can't look at any of the projects beyond knowing that they're highly unusual and say that's a Haertling building.
This one has more of that feeling of Papa Cristo coming into it.
Boy, we're really getting teased by this rock.
This is a movie rock, it's a house.
Yes, I guess the rock is always present. And in his portfolio, this is actually the centerfold. A lot of roof, a bunch of cantilevered outdoor spaces. And you know, it's a series of different levels too. So it's just sort of bermed into the rock and the earth underneath it or in front of it. And I assume we're not seeing construction footage for that project because it's sort of a drawing house, right? You can draw this house. This isn't out on the site, hoping and praying and playing.
Yeah, and this one had sold in 2018. I had remembered that this one had sold.
So, pretty neat guy, right? Really unusual stuff. Didn't have a giant body of work, but incredibly talented, and certainly could have made a bigger practice if he had wanted to.